What's going on, Jack Bates fans? Welcome to Jack Live. We're super excited for you guys to be here tonight. Hope everyone's having a great week. We are having a great one at Jack this week, and we hope everyone else is too. Jump in here, throw some comments in there, say hey. We're going to be giving away a few prizes tonight, and I hope you guys will enjoy that. And I'm gonna get this volume turned down. Sorry about that. And we'll be getting into it here in just a minute. What's going on, Mr. Duggar? Jake, how are you, buddy? We are gonna get our tonight in here. Um, I appreciate you guys all watching this the last few weeks. Um, this has been a overwhelming the amount of success that we've had with this. And what's going on, Mr. Jake?
What's happening, guys?
Hey, hey.
Let me get the camera set up.
You're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna. Guys, we appreciate you guys being on here. Please go ahead and share this to all your friends. Tag some people in it. Make sure you guys mash that like button down as much as you want to tonight. If we're saying things that you like, hopefully so. So, without further ado, I want to welcome you guys and welcome our guest tonight, Mr. Jake Whitaker. He is a Elite Series rookie this year. Finally, right? Super stoked,
yes, sir.
I'm sure. Yeah, you're young, but I'm sure it feels like forever.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I've always dreamed about and wanted to do. So now that it's finally happening, it's starting to sink in now that we're getting closer and closer, and I'm ready to get going.
There you go. There you go. So we're heading out to Lake Martin first, right?
That's correct. Yeah, Lake Martin. Hopefully, I went down and pre-practiced before cutoff and did a lot of riding around, looking, and I think I found a few places that may hold some fish then. So looking forward to getting back down there for practice, looking around some more, seeing what's going on. It should fish a lot like I do around here at home in North Carolina and South Carolina. So I'm looking forward to the first one.
Excellent. What's your home lake, just so everybody knows?
Well, I'm actually from Western North Carolina, Asheville, right around the Asheville area, but I do a lot of my fishing on the Savannah River chain, which is like Lake Hartwell, where the Classic will be. So I would consider Hartwell one of my home lakes, if you want to call it that.
Excellent. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That's great. Guys, if you will, down in the comments, throw down there where you guys are from, what's your home lake, just so we can kind of get an idea who all is in here. And definitely feel free to ask some questions. Jake's wide open for us to ask some questions, ask him those nitty gritty questions that everybody wants to know, and
Yeah.
we'll get them and we'll get them going. So you got a lot of stuff to do, I'm sure, to get ready to go fish the elites and any
Yep.
tournament season for that matter. But what's still left on the agenda right now?
Well, considering that I just actually got my boat last week from being rigged and all that, I got to break it in this past weekend. So the motor part, that all's done, breaking in stuff. Now all I lack is getting it wrapped, which is on the schedule for Monday of next week. And then tackle prep, just getting everything ready to rock and roll on that side and getting all my rods and reels relined, all that good stuff, hook sharp, all the new stuff. And, but like I said, just mostly just, getting my boat ready, getting it wrapped up, and then getting tackle organized and ready to go.
Sure. What's the one thing that you didn't realize was going to go into this that isn't typical for a normal fishing season, but obviously is for the elites?
Yeah, there's just a lot of, sponsor work to be done before the year starts. Just getting all that organized, getting a boat ordered, getting all the parts and pieces that go on the boat, setting up my electronics, getting the motor broke in, all this stuff you don't think takes a long time, but it does. It's time consuming stuff. And, just something that I thought would go a little bit smoother than it has. Not to say that it hasn't gone smooth,
Sure.
but, just a whole lot more just little stuff in there thrown in that, that I really wasn't expecting. But it's fine. Everything's going good. We're cutting it close, but everything's go. Everything's looking good.
I think that's you and everybody else. So I haven't
Yeah,
talked to anybody yet that's like, "Yep, I'm ready."
that's it.
And if they are, they're probably lying to you. So
That's it.
that's for sure. So what, obviously starting out on the elites this year, what is, everybody's got goals, and we all know about, everybody's heard the term SMART goals and things like that that
Yep.
are attainable. Obviously you want to go out and win every event.
Yep.
That's a duh, and you want to
Yep.
go out there and win AOI and win the classic and all that stuff. But what is your realistic goal for the year that you can say, here's one that I think I can attain, but
Yep.
is out there a little ways, and
Yep.
one that you really like, I guess really is just achievable.
Yeah. Well, the first one, me being a rookie, first time, I'm only 25 years old. I'll turn 26 in March. The first thing I want for myself is not to worry about, who I'm fishing against. I know these guys are good. Everybody knows they're good. But, I think a lot of times rookies get caught up worried about Kevin Van Dam or worried about Iaconelli or Gerald Swindle or, they worry about who they're fishing against instead of worrying about catching the fish. So that's my first goal this year was to just be myself, do what I like to do, fish to my strengths. If I catch them, great. If I don't, let me learn from it and see what, how I can improve for the next one.
Sure.
But as far as goals go, obviously I want to win Rookie of the Year. That's the main goal. I want to cash some checks. Now, not necessarily that, not every single tournament is going to, be an awesome tournament by no means. But, if I can cash 5-6 checks throughout the year, I think that would be a successful year for me. And it's something, that I think that I can do. I think some of the lakes are going to, play into my strengths. I'm a shallow water guy. That's
Sure.
just, the way I like to fish. And yet there's going to be tournaments where I have no clue what's going on. And when those happen, if I have nothing going on in the practice, after 3 days of practice, how do I adjust to survive in that tournament instead of finishing 100th or something like, how do I finish 60th instead of 90th?
Right.
So, that's just some of my goals. I just want to, I want to prove to myself that I can hang with these guys, and I can. I fished with them, some of them in the opens. So, just, getting past that mental block of who you're fishing with and against, and just doing the stuff that I like to do.
Sure. What's the one guy that's fishing now that is kind of the one that you looked up to the most, watching Bassmaster and whatnot?
Obvious answer is Van Dam. Just
Sure.
seeing him, I've watched him since I was 5 years old on Sunday mornings. That's everybody's. But, there's a lot of people, a lot of the guys that I've looked up to. I admire Iaconelli for the way he is. He is Iaconelli. He doesn't put on the show just for the TV shows or whatever for Bassmaster. That's the way he is on and off the water. Swindle, he's a top-notch guy. All of them. These guys are really good, and I've watched them all on Sunday mornings on TV. I'm just like everybody else. I'm a fan of the sport.
Absolutely.
And for me to actually be, fishing against these guys now is pretty cool.
Yep. How do you think that, normally we got to watch them Saturday, Sunday morning on ESPN, but now that we got Bass Live and we got all the GoPro footage and all that good stuff, how do you think that's changed the way people are coming up so quick like yourself and others that have done it previous before you as well?
Well, I mean, it's almost like a firsthand experience when you see this stuff happening live. You see these guys, what they're doing. You watch back when you watched the TV shows, you saw all the good things. You never saw the bad stuff that happened. You never saw the lost fish.
Yep.
You never saw, the hard times. Now that we get to see all these guys live, you get to see the good with the bad. And, how they change up and, when they change up, what to do when, weather's coming in or whatever. It's just the aspect of it happening now, people watching, seeing what's going on. It helps you learn. I've learned a lot from just watching guys on live.
Yeah.
doing different stuff. So it's just the element of it's here and now when you're watching it live, and seeing the good with the bad for sure.
Yeah, I know that from my perspective anyway, just watching this on Bass Live as opposed to ESPN or whatnot. I mean, ESPN, they're showing you after they've got hooked up, or right as they're setting the hook or something like that, and you're getting to see probably more than a lot of guys want you to see, with a lot of different presentations and things like that. I remember, I mean, just the one that comes to my mind is that Cherokee event where they're doing that Demiki rigging, and that's something that was new to me, of course. Probably not new to you, but
no, well, it was new to me.
Yeah.
I'd heard of it from being around here, but it's something that I'd never really spent a lot of time doing. So
yeah, but I mean, the crazy thing is to me, I mean, when you hear them talk about it, and hearing Zona talk about it on Taste the Bait, and they're talking about, oh yeah, you just drop it down, and then to me, it was like, oh, you fish it like a drop shot, you move it around, jiggle it or whatever. But then you watch them guys actually do it, and they're just holding their rod, they're not even moving the bait. And that's something that as a casual angler, either A, you're not picking up on it, or B, you never got the chance to watching Bassmaster television, because you're not seeing the in-between times when they're not actually reeling in the fish.
That's right. That's right. And I mean, it's just the natural instinct in us fishermen, the average weekend guys, if you're throwing a drop shot or a shaky head or whatever, we always got a tendency to want to move the bait.
Sure.
So when something like that comes around and you see these guys just holding it there, you start wondering, how did they figure that out?
Yeah.
Just time on the water? Was it just incident, or,
what went on? Reached down to get a cup of coffee, and then they got bit.
Yeah. What goes on in their mind to say, I'm just going to leave it down there and not move it? And it's crazy because, just since I've started throwing it, I've realized the same thing. I catch 3 to every 1 just holding it there instead of shaking it or whatever. It's just crazy stuff that goes on, little bitty stuff that, can, allow you to catch 5 extra fish in a day's time rather than 1 or whatever.
Sure. Absolutely. Got a question in here, guys. Feel free to drop some questions in here. But from Micah Easterling, he is a hammer down in Alabama, Tuscaloosa area. He says, at local level, what's more important for future endeavors, sponsors, social media, recognition, or winning on home waters?
I'm going to go with winning on home waters, but I'm going to adjust that just a little bit. Instead of winning, you don't have to win. I promise you don't have to win. Spend as much time on the water as you can. Learn how to fish. Get all your fishing stuff down pat, and then worry about, winning the tournaments, and then moving to the next level. Then you'll start getting some sponsorship stuff coming in, and then all that stuff. The social media aspect is where in the elites now and being a professional is huge. It is huge. And it's a plus if you want to go ahead and start doing the social media stuff. But worrying about sponsors and stuff like that is not something that you should be super focused on. Now, if you've got some local stuff or whatever, that's fine. Do what you got to do. But, as far as chasing the sponsors and stuff, the real sponsors are going to come when you make it to the higher up levels, and then you start doing good there. So, I focused on just getting my fishing stuff down, fishing as many tournaments, as many lakes as I could. The college level was really awesome for me. I got to travel to a lot of different places, rather than just fishing around my home waters. So fish as many different lakes as you can, learn all the stuff. Take some vacations up north, go up north or wherever you're from, fish some different lakes, and get that fishing part down right.
Sure. So you mentioned the college thing. That's obviously exploded everywhere. High school, college, middle school, I've even seen, it's something else. Talk us, you may have, give me one positive and one negative to the high school / college fishing.
Oh, well, the positive is just, it's just so big now that the kids get the tournament fishing experience. One thing that I liked about the college is I met a lot of my best friends through the college fishing stuff. You meet
Sure.
a lot of awesome people. It's a great way to network through the community. So definitely that was a positive, just getting that experience on different lakes and, getting all that fishing experience in was really key for me. And then probably the one thing that I didn't like about it was, some kids were really, dedicated to it. And then and not to say that, different kids have different, interest level in it or whatever. But just some of the stuff that went on at some of the tournaments where, you're going to have the kids in college that they go out and drink
Sure.
on.
Already on.
Kids, if you're serious about it, you'll fish daylight to dark, get some dinner, and go to bed.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about all that other stuff. So
That's right. No, absolutely. Well said there. One question I do have is, in your college experience, I mean, did you have a bunch of companies that were backing you guys? And if so, what was the expectation from them? And I'm kind of prompting you here a little bit, but I'm hoping you're going to go in the right direction here.
Well, the high school and college, what they expected of us was, just to hold yourself to a higher standard. When you represent these companies, you don't have to win. You don't have to do this, but when you represent a company, you do it with the utmost respect. If you win or lose, you still say, hey, this is what I used. This is what happened. Things didn't work out for me or whatever. But, just the way, that we tried to approach it at Charlotte was, okay, if these companies are going to back us up or help us out with some product or whatever, let's just make sure that they get their correct return on their investment in us. Let's not go out and act crazy or whatever.
Sure.
Let's try to do to do it the right way and to act the right way at the tournaments, whether we do good or not. So, I just, try to, in college, just try to hold ourselves to a higher standard than what we think the next team might be doing for that sponsor or whatever. Just try to work as hard as we can, so that, when the next year comes, they'll be able to help us out some more or whatever.
Sure.
So that's kind of the way we looked at it.
Absolutely. Perfect. So as your college experience went, can you point to one either tournament or event or day or just funny story or something that you could tell us about, just either something that went really well or something that went really bad or, anything that, just give us a little insight into that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the day that comes to mind is the day that in 2014, the college national championship, when we won the final day. Just it was crazy because we weren't really catching numbers in that tournament, but we were catching the right size fish. Now we were only getting 6 to 7, 8 bites a day. But that day, I mean, just the way every, fish would come, it was, we fished for the whole day, got 5 bites, and it was just like one fish every hour and a half. And just the way, the way that worked out, we had one little squeaker fish that was the first fish we caught, and you think, oh, we'll call that out. And, having 4 other nice fish to go with it, and then catching one on literally the last cast before you have to come in. It's kind of weird thinking back on it, but when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. So that day definitely, is cemented in my mind and my memory where, it led to, this could happen. After winning the college national championship, I kind of told myself I had another year left of school. We qualified for the national championship in 2015 in Wisconsin. We went up there, finished 4th in it. And then after that, I told myself I want to try to pursue the professional fishing, just for a couple years, just see what I had my degree in civil engineering. So I gave myself a couple years to try in the opens, fish the opens 1 year, or the first year. Had moderate success, about middle of the pack in all 3 tournaments. Nothing great, but, learned a lot. And then this year, fishing the opens again, everything worked out. So just blessed for sure. But that last day college national championship was one that I'll always remember.
Sure. That's been a trend for us the last 2 weeks. We had John Hunter on here last week, and he kind of mentioned the same thing as far as, fished the first year and kind of figured it out, and then the second year he really did well. So that's interesting, and maybe just a tip to all you out there that maybe are thinking about fishing that as a in the opens and whatnot, is that, hey, the first year you got to look at it and hopefully you'll be successful, but learn as much as you can and try for the second one. And
if things don't work out, don't give up.
Sure. Question here from Brad Dunkerley says, what was the indicator for you that made you believe you can compete against the elite field?
Well, just competing in the opens this year. I mean, obviously not all the elite guys fish the opens, but Brandon Polnick, perfect example, fished the first two on Lake Oneida and then the James River. And, just because it's an open doesn't mean that Brandon Polnick's just out there just fun fishing. He's going to try to win.
Oh, yeah.
He's the best that he can. So, I mean, when I can compete against those guys or whatever, do just as good in those tournaments, then there's no reason that I can't do just as good in the elites.
Sure. We had a question a couple of weeks ago on one of our Jack Lives that someone asked, what happens, what do you do specifically if you are in tournament situation and something goes wrong and you end up, quote unquote, spinning out? What do you do to fix that and get back to square and get back on the right track, on the right side of things?
Well, I mean, most of the time spinning out happens when you lose a big fish or something like that happens, or, there's all kind of different stuff that goes on. But like, for instance, if what I do, I lose a big fish or something like that, I just, I take a minute and say, look, how did I get that fish to bite? If I got that fish to bite, I can put my head down, keep fishing, do the exact same things or whatever. If I need to make a change, I can make a change.
Sure.
But, just take a minute, relax. It's okay. It's an 8-hour day. You just got to catch 5.
Yeah.
Just relax, just take a deep breath, and just move on. There's no need to get all tore up about something that you can't control. Now, sometimes you can control it, but if you can control it, then you have to fix that.
Sure.
But when the stuff happens that you can't control, you just got to remember that I can't control that. Now let me just move on. Let me keep fishing, and we'll figure it out from then on out. But that's something that everybody does it. You get tore up, you lose a big one or something. But I've done pretty well training myself to just relax. It's okay.
Sure.
No, nothing bad's gonna happen.
That's right. That's right. Well, good deal. What is so you're out there fishing last year. What'd you come home and do when you were not fishing? As far as did you work or just study, or what?
Yeah,
what was
like I said, after college, I had a civil engineering degree, but I knew if I went and got a job, in the civil engineering field, that there was no way that I could take the time off to fish and whatever. So I actually did some landscaping with a family friend of mine, and he was able, I was able to work with him when I wasn't fishing, and he allowed me to go take off to the opens whenever I needed to go.
Sure.
So, it just kept a little money in my pocket. It wasn't great money, but it was enough to survive on.
Absolutely. Hey, that's important, and get on to the next one for sure.
Yeah.
What is I'm going to do this a little different. What's the tournament out of all your schedule this year that you're looking forward to the least?
Sabine River.
Okay. Why is that?
It's just somewhere that I've obviously never been. I've never been to Sabine River. It's a notoriously tough place. But
you said you like to fish shallow, right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that I'm not going to be, doing what I want to do, but I'm just, that's one of the places where, you could get, if you're really not in the right place or whatever, it's not as hard, it's harder to survive in a place like that as it would be, you can just go catch some fish somewhere else.
Sure.
I think that's a place where it's going to be really key to be, in the right areas, or doing the right thing. So, that's the one that scares me the most. And then the one in South Dakota, Oahe, that one will be tough just because nobody really has ever been there.
Yeah.
But that could be a good thing. That could, go in there with a fresh mind. I think it's predominantly a smallmouth fishery. So that one should be fun, but just another one where, just something I've never been to
Sure.
or whatever like that. So,
all right. Well, you answered that so quick. What's the one you're looking forward to the most then?
Believe it or not, Kentucky Lake.
Okay.
Just because I think the fish will still be shallow at that time, and there's some big ones in Kentucky Lake. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Good deal.
May not do any good, but I'm looking forward to that one.
That's
sure.
all right. I hear that. So last year, walk us through. You fished how many? You fished all the opens, all 9 of them?
No, I just fished the opens. I mean the northern.
Oh, yeah, last year.
Yeah, just the northerns.
Okay.
Just money wise, that's what I did.
No, absolutely. So I guess what I was going to get at there is what was the moment? I guess was it a single day? I mean, obviously, did you find out that you're going to qualify for the elites on the very last day, the very last hour, or was it after the tournament? Or
yeah, I mean, just everything last year just kind of was, and I'll tell you some stories, but everything just kind of fell into place last year on the opens. It was the first one on Lake Oneida. Obviously, I'd fished that one the year before. We fished that one 2 years in a row. Fished it the year before, and learned a lot. Learned a lot the first time. I think I finished like 120th out of 200. But
sure.
I learned a lot at that one. So at this one, this year, I just kind of tried to apply what I learned from last year, and then, threw in the baits that I wanted to throw and had confidence in throwing, and not worry about what happened last year. And that one worked out. I ended up catching those fish on Oneida on a jerk bait and a top water, and then a few really good key fish on a Carolina rig. Okay. But I just tried to do it the way that I wanted to do it instead of worrying about, the other people.
Sure.
And then at the James River, the best thing about the James River, and this is kind of when it started to get real. The very first day on the James River, I was the very last boat out. So, and I had, practice wasn't that great. I had caught a few fish, but nothing to really brag about. And then, so being that very last boat, I didn't realize I was the last boat until takeoff that morning. I thought there was a couple behind me, but no, I was the dead last boat. So I had, in practice, I had found like 2 logs in this one little creek that were laying on top of each other. And, I had got a few bites there in practice. Now, I say bites. I never caught a bass. I never caught one off the log. I had like 3 bites off of it back to back. So, that was going to be one of my places, but where I was going to start was on further down the river, and there was some boats there in practice. So when I saw that I was the dead last boat, I said, I've got a scratch where I'm going to start. I'm actually going to go start on those 2 logs and just see if I can put a couple fish in the boat, calm my nerves or whatever. Well, anyway, I pull up, and this was at James River's, obviously a tidal river. So the tide was perfect that morning. It was low tide, rising tide. And I got to my first place at those 2 logs, and I stopped about 50 yards down the bank. And, there was one log that I hadn't seen at high tide, but it was laying in the water at low tide. You could see it. So my first cast with a pop-ar, I throwed it out there, popped it one time, and caught a 6-pounder. So that calmed my nerves for that tournament. I went on to, I had like 15.5 pounds the first day at the James River, was in 5th place after day 1. And then, the second day I had like 10.5 pounds, and started the day and fell to 10th, but got to fish the third day, and then just maintained that, finished 10th in the tournament there. So after that, I looked at the points, after I got back to the motel room after weighing in on day 3 at the James. I got on my phone and was just looking, just curious to see where I was, in the points, and saw that I was in 7th place. So, then my mind starts racing, like, you've got a chance to do this.
Yeah.
You have a decent finish at Douglas, and, you've got a real good shot at making the elites. So Douglas rolls around. That was the worst practice I've had in a long time. Just caught like 3 or 4 fish every day, just no pattern at all. They were just random. So I told myself the day before, I said, I'm going to fish the way that I want to fish. I don't have any patterns going, so I'm just going to go fish, do what I want to do, what I like to do. And that day, the first day at Douglas, I had a limit for like 11 pounds, and I caught every one of them skipping the docks with a jig. And that's something obviously that I've, living here in the Carolinas, that's what we do. We skip docks with a jig. So, and then, having that, I think I was in like 20th place after day 1, and then looked at the points that night, and I was in 2nd place. And I was like, then it really started like, oh crap, now I really got to catch them tomorrow, or I'm not going to make it. And then the second day rolled around. I caught my first one at like 10 o'clock, so I was kind of stressed out that morning. Caught my first one. It was, just a 1.5 pound, 2 pound keeper.
Sure.
And then I moved to a brush pile that I'd found and caught one out of it, just another keeper. And then started skipping docks again with a jig, caught like a 3.5 pounder. And then at that fish there, I felt like I, was going to be pretty close. That might have sealed the deal right there, just having those 3 fish for about 7 pounds, which, was actually 7 pounds was a respectable catch the first day, had you in the top 40.
Sure.
And then the last fish that sealed the deal for me, my biggest fish that whole day, it was about a 4 pounder, was on a bridge pier that I'm sure people had fished that day. But I just randomly picked one of the piers to start on out in the lake, not up towards the riprap, but out in the lake, and throwed a shaky head over there next to the pier, and it never hit the bottom, and it was a 4 pounder. And I knew once I got that fish in that I had probably qualified. So that was a special fish. That was one that I'll remember for a long time too.
No doubt about it. No doubt. Good stuff. Well, thanks for walking us through that. Is there anything in particular that you do every single time, every single morning, that's maybe not necessarily a superstitious thing, but just something that's got to be done before you get your boat in the water?
Not necessarily. I don't have any real
just kind of roll, thing. Huh? Yeah.
I just say a prayer every morning and do all that good stuff, and then I try to relax. Just just do my thing. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Not getting caught up in all the hoopla or whatever in the mornings or whatnot. So
you mentioned,
but no, I don't have anything that I really do.
Yeah,
I just take it easy.
Sure. You mentioned that you went out and fished. Having a bad practice, and you went out and fished your strengths. What do you think it is about that? I mean, you hear that time and time again from these guys and you guys and other guys, just tournament guys even, and they're like, I have no idea. I'm just going to go fish whatever it is that I like to do the most.
Yep.
Is it really because you can develop a pattern doing whatever you want to do on a lake, or is it just because what is that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think you said it exactly right. I mean, a bass is a bass. You can catch them so many different ways that I think a lot of people get, caught up, either looking at past reports, fishing reports, or hearing what their buddy said that they had caught them on or something like that. And, you just get all these ideas in your head, and if something doesn't work, you switch to this, or something else doesn't work. And by the time you know it, it's, later on up in the day, and, you've not done too good.
Sure.
But when you're doing what you want to do, you've got confidence in the baits that you're using or whatever. I think it's just easier to make your own decisions based off, the stuff that you like to do, or, areas that you think might be better suited for what you like to do. I do, me being a shallow water guy, I like to throw a frog, like to do all that good stuff. So I look for, stuff that looks really bad or something that somebody has never fished or whatever.
Yeah.
And, sometimes that pays off for a couple fish. But, the main thing is just probably the confidence that you have. And if you're good at something, if you're good at throwing a crankbait, and you throw a crankbait, your odds of catching, fish are much better than if you, throw a jig or whatever, and you don't have any confidence in it.
Right.
So confidence is definitely key.
Who doesn't have confidence in a jig? Come on.
That's right.
All right. David Geyer Jr. says, as a rider, so co-angler, how important is it to stick to your style of fishing, even if the boater isn't fishing the same style? I think that goes right along with what you're talking about there. But
yeah, 100% confidence. I mean, I started out fishing the BFLs and all that good stuff. So I've had plenty of guys that fish with me or whatever, and that most of the time the guys that do the best are the ones that have confidence in a bait or two, and that's just what they fish the whole day. It doesn't matter if I'm fishing fast or whatever. Now sometimes it's hard fishing out of the back of the boat. It's very hard. If you're at bay of the boater, so if he's fishing fast or whatever, but just having confidence in baits that you like and like to throw, you can catch some fish out of the back of the boat.
Sure, makes sense. Mr. Tom Coomer says, do you think history on lakes hurts or helps more than others?
Both.
That wasn't the question.
I'll give you that. I'll give you an example on how it hurts and how it helps.
Sure.
It hurts in a sense where I still do at homes at lakes here around the house. I get caught up fishing the same stuff all over and over again. I've caught them there in the past. Yeah, I can still catch them there, but it's probably not the best place. So, I mean, having those areas that you've caught fish in the past, that are good areas, but, for certain times they're just not the best. So that's how it hurts. You can get caught up just doing the same exact stuff over and over again, not just fishing. And then how it helps is obviously, it's hard to beat local knowledge, having a bunch of places to go, or, just knowing, how a lake fishes. Like the lakes we live on are herring lakes. There's not a whole lot of lakes like that.
Yeah.
So, if you can understand the herring on our lakes, you do really well. So, just little stuff like that, that helps. And then, like I said, it hurts, just getting caught up doing the same stuff.
Sure. Jimmy Christ says, you say you like shallow water. What do you tell yourself when you have to go deep to get the fish in the boat?
Well, it's just something that I've had to learn to do. If you have to go out there, that's what you got to do. If you want to compete, you got to do it. I've been working a lot on trying to, get myself into the deep routine and doing some of that. And I'm still not the best at it. I'm better than what I was, but I'm still not the best. And I still rely on my shallow water stuff to carry me most of the time. But, when they're out there, I can still, get by out there. So,
sure.
Just learning, continuously learning, the stuff that you don't like is key. But, like I said, if you're a predominantly shallow water guy or you're a deep water guy, you still got to survive at the other aspect. So you still got to practice it. You got to know the ins and outs of doing those things. So, I think, me being a shallow water guy, I've improved out deep a lot, but like I said, I'm still not the best at it.
Sure. What's your most confident shallow water bait? You mentioned a frog earlier. Is that it, or is it something else?
Summertime is by far a frog. I throw it. You can ask all my buddies. That's it's something that I can throw. I can go all day and fish for 5 bites, that's just what I have confidence in. Most of the time, if you get a bite on a frog, it's a better fish. So that's just my thing. And then, like I said, skipping a jig under docks or whatever is also, just something that is, catch fish all the time.
Let me ask you this. So you're talking frog fishing, and you're also talking about dock fishing. And so are you frog fishing in grass, or are you frog fishing in open water?
There we don't have a stitch of grass.
I didn't figure. Yeah.
Nope, it's all just random bank cover. A lot of my frog fish are actually brim feeding fish.
Okay.
So I mean, but they set up just the same way like they would on grass. They ambush the brim. So they set up on dock pads, walkways, brush piles, overhanging trees, just any type of stuff. Very backs of pockets, stuff like that.
So when you say they're brim fish, brim feeding fish, do you stick with what's your favorite color frog? Let's just put it that way.
It's the I either go with black or killer gill.
Okay.
Yeah, killer gill and the spro frog is my, that's what I have tied on. And I always throw when there's no grass around, I always throw a popping frog.
Okay.
Just something about that throws a little water, makes a commotion, it can draw the fish from a longer distance.
Sure.
But and you can throw that thing anywhere and it not get hung up. So that's what's fun about it.
Yep. So are you fishing that on braid or fluorocarbon?
Braid, 65 braid.
No matter if there's grass or not, huh?
No matter.
Okay. All right. And what kind of retrieve do you start with? I mean, obviously that changes throughout the day or just depending on the conditions and stuff like that. But I mean, if you go out there and you're going to start throwing it, are you a pop or a pop bloop pause? What are you?
Not 9 times out of 10. Just because the lakes that are around here are predominantly clear lakes, clear water lakes. We don't get a lot of dirty water. We get some dirty water, but not a lot. I work my frogs a whole lot faster than a lot of guys do. Okay. I keep it moving. I'll pause it for just a split second here and there, but I work it, pretty fast. And it's like I said, it's more of a reaction strike most of the time than it is them, actually, wanting to eat it. It's just, if they've got something up there that's popping around and moving away fast, they have to go check it out and take a look at it. So
sure,
that's just, I've had more luck. You can definitely fish it a bunch of different ways to catch fish, but I like the faster approach and had more success doing it that way.
Right. This will probably get answered anyway by what you just said, but Kevin Franklin wants to know what's your go-to bait when needing to catch a fish at a crucial point. So probably a frog.
No, actually, a frog, yeah. But if I need to catch a fish somewhere and it's it's a shaky head. It's shaky head. Go catch one anywhere you want to go throughout the United States.
Are you a spinning rod guy or a bait casting guy?
Spinning rod. I throw it on a spinning rod.
What kind of
line? Either 8 or 10 pound leader, fluorocarbon leader.
All right. He's wanting you to do a 4 pound fluorocarbon.
I don't own any 4 pound.
That's right. He keeps bringing that up every week. He wants to talk about that 4 pound fluorocarbon. Jeremiah Boone says, shout out to your cousin Jake. Go get him.
Yeah, that's him. What's up, Jeremiah?
Good stuff. He says he's going to be teaching you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 6 pound, not 4. Excuse me.
Yeah. I don't even know that I own 6 pound, honestly. 8 is probably the least that I own.
You and me both, brother. I hear that, but he's supposedly thinks he can school us on that. So he actually showed me that down at Gunnersville, and it's a crazy little deal. And
it works.
I couldn't believe. Yeah, I couldn't believe it worked down there. So anyway, what do you think's the one thing for a open angler or a coastal level guy that is the one thing that you can take it to the next level?
Just like I said, you can't give up on yourself. You always got to learn. If you don't do well, if you don't do it well at a tournament, try to learn, what you didn't do right or how you can improve on that at the next one. And then again, it's just something I've been preaching all night is just have confidence in yourself and the baits that you like to throw, and don't get caught up in, what may have worked there last year or what worked there a month ago or something, anything like that. Just, be yourself, do the things that you like to do. And I think that you'll find yourself being a whole lot more successful than if you, are relying on somebody else for, waypoints or something like that. So,
sure. Well, that leads.
just and do what you like to do.
Good deal. That leads right into the next question. What method do you use to learn a new lake before getting there?
Well, I just, you got to take a look at what type of lake it is. If it's a highland reservoir or a grass lake or a river system or, whatever it may be. A bass is a bass. They're going to act the same, really wherever, but they do have, patterns that they hold true to on certain type of lakes. I look at what their forage is, the bait fish or whatever that they, feed on. Up north, they feed on more of perch and crawfish, and down here it's either herring or shad or something like that. So, just kind of, I study, what kind of fishery it is, what type of fish are in it, in the lake or river or whatever. And then, then I try to base my, bait selection off those, off that type of, plan, whatever lake I'm going to.
Good deal. Got a question from Morgan Beaver. He's a high school angler. He says, what lake is it that you hope that bass will pick for a tournament in 2019?
Maybe somewhere a little closer to home, maybe somewhere in North Carolina or South Carolina. I know they're having the Classic on Hartwell, which I would love to be in, but,
yeah.
Definitely you want to always go somewhere that you're a little more confident in than some other places. But, honestly, Bass does a great job of picking, awesome lakes. All the lakes we go to are, really good lakes, and we go to these lakes at really good times. So, obviously maybe Clark's Hill or a Lake Murray or something like that, or Lake Norman, even somewhere I grew up or, fished a lot in college. So
sure.
maybe.
What about one that you have never been to? What would be a lake that you'd want to see them put on the schedule that you've never been to?
That I've never been to. Well, I don't like Florida fishing, so I don't want them to ever go to Florida, but that'll never happen.
Yeah.
I would like to go. I'd like to go out west. I'd like to fish out in California, Clear Lake or somewhere like that. I know that's a haul.
Yeah.
But I'd love to. I would like to do that for sure.
Yeah. It seemed like they kind of. Obviously they stopped that, but they were doing that West Coast swing every once in a while, and I think they had.
I foresee they'll be back out there in the future, but it just sometimes they go and sometimes they don't. So
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you know a Jermaine Brown?
Yeah, I do.
Jake says was Eddie Gordon says was Jermaine Brown the worst co-angler you ever drawn?
Yeah, just because he's watching. Yeah, he probably was.
Right
he
on.
Sure was.
I needed to ask that before I actually asked this question because I didn't know if you knew him or not, and I figured it was an inside joke. But good stuff. Sean Ripley says, what about if I only gave you 2 rods, 2 baits to use in Florida? What would you go with? A frog?
A rod, and then probably a frog. Why not?
Yeah.
They eat frog.
There you go. Yeah, that's why I'm surprised you don't like Florida.
With and something to throw top water.
Yeah, there you go. Sam, we kind of already answered that, but he said, what's the event you're most looking forward to? And we said Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky Lake.
So definitely.
Maybe flip some bushes there.
There you go. That's fun.
You go.
Flip a lot of bushes. What's your setup? Michael Smith wants to know, what's your setup when you skip jigs on docks?
I use a 1/2 ounce jig, just anything natural or whatever. Like you say, most of our forage around here, if a fish is on a dock, it's either eating brim or crawfish. So if you can match something that looks a little bit like both, I use a 1/2 ounce jig. It falls a little faster, get a reaction strike if you can get it in there close to them. But the thing that I see most about guys that fish docks is they throw around the edges or in the middle of the dock slip or whatever. 9 times out of 10, if you're going to catch a bet, there you go. That looks good. If you're going to catch a bass out from under a dock, you've got to get up to, get up under the dock where the shade is. And, I've spent a lot of time practicing skipping docks and whatnot. And it's definitely something that has helped me do really well as far as casting wise, is learning how to skip under docks and whatnot.
I believe that's definitely one technique that is overlooked a lot by some, that you can really actually apply to a lot more things than just docks, as you know. Bushes and overhanging stuff, and obviously you learn to throw that frog way up underneath there too, and it's a skill that's invaluable, that I'm glad I grew up on Lake of the Ozarks fishing this place, and it's chock full of docks, and it's special for sure. So Eddie Gourdan says you're officially my favorite elite angler.
Fair enough.
Mike asked another question. He says, how long does an elite angler have to prove himself before he's let go? I assume he's talking 2 years there. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, we've got 2 years to get it done. So I think that's fair. They give us 1 year to get our feet, and then the second year, if you can't get it done, and not to say that the guys that don't get it done are not good, because that's definitely not the case. Definitely not the case at all. But just things happen. But I think 2 years is a fair judgment.
So let me ask you this, and I may be a little ignorant on this, but so let's say you qualify this first year. Does that not matter? So like if you go out there and finish in the top 35 or the top 50, whatever the qualification is, you still fish next year. But does that qualify you for the third year or no?
The way I think it works is after whatever your 2 years or whatever, or whoever's below, it's 70th points is guaranteed. If you're in top 70, you're guaranteed to fish the next year. So what they do is after or whatever, after the season's over, they take a look at the guys in the last 70 or below the 70th. And then they look at their average finishes over the years. Okay. And then I think that's something how it works. They've got to somehow that they do that. So,
I was going to say that'd be a bad deal if you did really well the first year and something happened the second year.
Like I said, if Kevin Van Dam fishes below 7th in 70th in the points, they're not going to kick him out, because obviously he's done well in the past. So if I did really good this year or whatever, and then maybe not so good next year, I think it would. My last year's finish or whatever should help me anyway. I don't know that it would guarantee me back in, but it would help.
Sure. Well, I'm sure you're going to do well both years, so we ain't got to worry about that with you, right?
That's it. I appreciate that. I'm hoping so.
That's right. Michael Harper wants to know, around the spawn, I see a big fish shallow, but it won't eat your bait and is swimming away from your bait. How do you accomplish getting those fish to bite?
When I run into something like that in the spring, if the fish getting close to spawn or whatever, if a fish is on a bed or whatever and it's not really wanting to eat or whatever, I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But I will say that, even, during the spring, you can see fish shallow. And if they see you, they're probably not going to go very far. So what I'll do is I'll, just keep fishing down the bank, and I'll kind of keep a mental note of where that fish was. And I'll keep going down the bank for 30 minutes or whatever, or go somewhere else for a little while, and then I'll come back and try to make super long cast and see if I can't pick that fish off.
Something pretty finesse then, I would imagine. Yeah. I know we end up throwing like a floating worm or something like that, a trick worm.
Wacky rig worm is really good.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly. Anything like
that. I think that's a good point, and coming back to it and just knowing where it's at. I mean, if it's a worthwhile fish to catch, of course. If it's a 1 pound fish and you need 3-pounders, then that's probably not a good idea. But
wasting your time. Yeah, and if it's a monster, if it's a big female or something that and you've got a limit of fish and you're happy with that or whatever, and you want to spend a couple hours trying to get her to bite, then that's definitely something that I've done or whatever. But you just got to, see how the day's going or whatever before you really make that decision.
Yeah. And I'm sure nobody really knows, maybe some scientists know, but they probably got a pretty short memory span. So if you come back, they're going to go back doing what they're doing, and they've forgot about you, because they don't know that you're not just a pleasure boat out there goofing off.
After you leave, you're not worried about it.
That's right. So give me this. So we got 4 seasons, spring, summer, winter, fall. what are your 4 baits for each one of those seasons? So we'll start with winter since we're here. One bait.
The winter,
One bait.
I stick to a more finesse baits this time of year. Shaky head, drop shot.
One bait.
One bait.
One
Oh
bait.
gosh, one bait. My favorite way to fish in the wintertime. I'm gonna get jerk bait. Jerk
Okay.
bait.
All right. What about spring?
Wacky rig Cinco.
Okay. Summer, frog.
Frog.
And how about fall?
Probably a spinnerbait.
Okay. Good deal. All right. So here's another question for you, and this is one come up with earlier. And what is a bait out there that, so you travel around a good bit? What's a bait out there or a technique that you've seen at another place that's kind of a local technique or a local bait that you've caught on to and either fished well with it up wherever it was? But what's one that you've brought back home and tried it there, and have you had success on it, if you want to talk about it? Pick something.
Yeah,
random if you don't.
I mean, I just like what we talked about earlier, the JaKKed rig, what
Okay.
it really came out last year at Cherokee. But that was for that area, that was already something that was known.
Sure.
And the elites really exposed that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some pretty bad people in that area. But no, that's definitely something that works, and it works in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
I know they were catching smallmouth on it, but it definitely catches spots.
Oh yeah.
It's an awesome spotted bass bait. And yeah, I mean, that's, there's been a whole lot of different baits come out that, just take everybody by storm. But most of the time when a bait comes out, if it's a good bait, it's going to catch fish really everywhere. Yeah. Because, a bass is a bass. They tend to act the same really everywhere. Like I said, they just have different tendencies in different places. But a bass is a bass. I think we get caught up trying to be too pretty sometimes.
Yep. Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So I guess let's do a quick rapid fire. If you guys have any other questions, throw them down there in the bottom. But we'll do a quick rapid fire, get to know Jake a little bit better before he heads out on the Elite Series this year. And then we'll kind of wish him luck and get him back his night. So what's your favorite boat snack?
Favorite boat snack? Probably a Snicker bar.
Snicker bar. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coke. Largemouth or smallmouth?
Oh, Lord, you put me on the spot.
I did.
If I can catch them on a frog, largemouth, just going based off fun to catch, smallmouth.
Yep. Yeah, right on. Besides fishing, what will we find you doing on a casual Saturday?
Probably really anything outdoors, playing sports. I grew up big time in sports, played football in high school. So I mean, just really anything. I like to do a whole lot of different stuff, but if I'm outdoors doing something, that's probably what I'm doing.
Sure. Favorite TV show? Besides Bassmaster TV or MLF or non-fishing related.
Like I grew up in sports, so I watch ESPN a lot.
Yeah. Besides that, come on, give us something else. You like Desperate Housewives or Bachelor or what?
No, favorite TV show. And it can't be a fishing one?
That's right.
Oh, gosh. I like to watch Cops.
There
Cops
you go.
Is good.
Yeah, that's fun. Right on. And you put your pants on with your left leg or your right leg first?
Left leg.
Everybody says.
I have no idea.
I know. I'm just messing with you. Everybody says these guys put their pants on the same way as we do. Us fishing guys as the elite guys. So I just wanted to know. I'm a right leg guy for sure. So who knows? But that's good stuff. So one more deal, and I'll let you roll. So we were talking just a moment ago about the JaKKed rig and it being exposed on these lakes. I'm sure this was a long time coming, really, but do you find, or do you think that whole deal kind of led to Bass doing the no info rule now? completely gone away with, or do you think it was something
Uh,
else really?
I don't know that it's that, but I think they're definitely trying to just get away from guys getting guides or something like that. Um, because I know I've heard it. I've talked to some of the guys. I knew that some of the guys, not everybody does it, but when this is your way of life and this is how you make a living, it's fair to say why would you not do it?
Right.
So just kind of, I think their main object was to just get away from somebody blatantly going out and getting help or whatever. And to me, it's kind of gonna be a hard rule for them to because just if somebody's talking, I mean, I fished these lakes around here, and I'm sure sometime that they'll come somewhere around here or whatever, but it's kind of hard not to talk about it or whatever, or hear what's going on or whatever, but
Yeah.
as long as it's public information, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of I think they wanted to get away from guided trips
Sure.
and getting waypoints from people or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and that's tough. I mean,
I like the rule. I like the rule, although it's going to hurt me just because a lot of the other guys already have the information.
yeah, they already got all the waypoints. Huh? Well, at least Oahe or whatever you say that. Nobody's got waypoints for that one. How about that? Well, what else you got, man? You got any other comments or anything like that? You got plug some of your sponsors. Tell us who's helping you out this year.
Yeah, looking forward to using you guys' tungsten and whatnot. Looking forward to put that to good use, and I appreciate all you guys have done. And I'm just ready to get out there and start fishing, and quit worrying about the business side for
Sure.
a little while and go fishing for a little bit. I know the business side is big, but
oh yeah,
I'm just ready to get fishing.
Yeah. Who's some of your other guys that you got supporting you this year? You got ALX there. Looks like.
Yeah, I got ALX. Then I've got some companies, some non-endemic stuff coming from home. ISM machining, fabrication, big league ball camp. I mentioned that I was big into sports. Some guys that I know have developed a big baseball and softball complex on Lake James near where I'm from, and it's going to be a big tournament venue and whatnot. They're going to help me out some this year. Along with 6 Cents Lures, True South Custom Lures, Yankum Custom Tackle, you guys Tungsten, just a lot of moving parts, man. I mean, just my rookie season, it's hard, but I think I've got some good support behind me. So
yes, sir.
Mom and Dad are helping me out some too. So
there you go. That's really important. I know that. Well, guys, wish him good luck this year. Follow him over on his Jake Whitaker fishing page. We got him tagged in here. I'm sure you'll share this video after this so everybody can see as well. But go give him a like. And like I said, just follow him throughout the year. And I'm sure this won't be the last time we have you on here because I know you're going to do well in one of these events.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys asked me to do this for sure. I'll do this anytime.
Absolutely. Well, holler at us if you ever want to do it. Then when we don't ask you, we'll be happy to have you on. And if you got something to talk about, we're always ready to talk on JaKKed Live. So I appreciate your time, Jake. Thank you so much. And remember, guys, don't just hook them, jack them. See ya.
There we go.